It's been a minute since rah-rah-siss-boom-bah. So how did some frat bros chants explode into a $2 billion behemoth? Abuse, hazing, and objectification. Here's the dark side of the sport that just won't quit. Today, cheerleading is dominated by girls. According to a UCLA study, participation in cheerleading is approximately 97% female, though more male cheerleaders can be found on collegiate squads. But it wasn't always that way. Cheerleading began to form in the mid to late 1800s, first at Ivy League schools, with male students in the stands organizing the chants to support their teams. It took off as a trend when Princeton alum Thomas Peebles transferred to the University of Minnesota and introduced the concept there. Since colleges and universities were just starting to admit women in the 19th century, few, if any, female students would have been involved. Cheerleading soon incorporated flags, megaphones, and acrobatic stunts. Squads were still largely male, and female cheerleaders were a rarity, until World War II. With many young men serving overseas, women stepped in to fill the void. Their inclusion forever changed cheerleading.
Roll them over, lay them flat, pin their shoulders to the mat. Go Muskies, yeah!
The president of Kilgore College is often credited with creating the archetype of the modern cheerleader. He re-envisioned cheerleading as entertainment for male fans, with more seductive choreography performed by attractive women in showy costumes. As a result, men all but fled the sport. 70 years later, cheerleaders still use pom-poms and megaphones, with high school and college athletes wearing uniforms that reference academic institutions. But the stereotype that was born at Kilgore College in 1939 stuck the landing, and it quickly trickled down from co-eds to younger girls. Today's cheerleaders often wear heavy makeup, large bows and hairpieces, and extremely tight, short, and revealing ensembles. It's not entirely dissimilar from the look for gymnastics or figure skating, but unlike those sports, the cheerleading aesthetic tends to combine youthful innocence with fetish-like sexuality. That might be acceptable for older teens and adults, but it's also foisted upon grade school-aged girls.
Are you crying because you're hurt? Okay, then get over it.
A Ms. Magazine essay detailed how a parent was troubled when her 6-year-old daughter came home from a cheer practice reciting a sexually suggestive verse. The cheer phrasing went, quote, "Our backs ache, our skirts are too tight, we shake our booties from left to right." When that parent complained, a media firestorm ignited, and the girl was eventually cut from the team. Another component of the cheerleader mystique is the cachet that comes with making the squad. In American high schools, cheerleaders are perceived as having social advantages like higher status and a built-in network of friends. But that privilege isn't all it's cracked up to be. Young girls are already under an immense amount of pressure, especially regarding their looks. A 2004 study in the Journal of School Health reported that 50% of Black cheerleaders and almost 75% of white cheerleaders were unhappy with their bodies. Almost half of the cheerleaders said they were trying to lose weight.
I always wanted to be head of cheer squad, but not this way.
A 2012 Journal of Athletic Training study found that more than 33% of cheerleaders were at risk of developing an eating disorder. That number rose when flyers, the person who performs aerial stunts, were singled out. Flyers are expected to maintain their small frames and low body mass. It's a competitive position where athletes could be more vulnerable to anorexia nervosa or bulimia. That study also concluded that skimpy uniforms, particularly crop tops, could also account for body image anxiety. Participation in sports and extracurricular activities can have dramatically positive effects on a child's physical and mental well-being. And at its best, cheerleading offers a student opportunities to socialize, exercise, and work toward goals. But affiliation with long-standing organized groups can have downsides too. A national study of student hazing reported that 55% of those involved with school activities experienced some kind of ritual abuse. That could include forced alcohol consumption, sleep deprivation, public humiliation, or coerced sex acts. In recent years, cheerleading hazing scandals have come to light at the University of Kentucky, Northwestern State University, the University of Kansas, and the University of Central Oklahoma. All of these incidents involved public nudity and sexual harassment. In some cases, coaches were fired. But on the whole, affected cheerleaders feel that more needs to be done to improve the culture on campus.
Sasha! You stupid cheerleader!
But hazing doesn't just happen at the university level. In September 2023, a New Hampshire high school put a pause on its entire cheer program after allegations of hazing. While an investigation found isolated incidents of bullying and discrimination, most of the participants were cleared. These types of allegations are not uncommon, and even high school cheer hazing can take the form of sexual violence. While USA Gymnastics was rocked by the Larry Nassar scandal in 2016, the world of competitive cheerleading was shaken by a similar situation in 2020. That's when one of the breakout stars of the Netflix series Cheer, Jerry Harris, was accused of sexually assaulting several teenage boys. In 2022, Harris was sentenced to 12 years in prison after being found guilty of solicitation of minors and child pornography. Harris may be the face of the most infamous case of abuse within the cheerleading community, but that's not even the tip of the iceberg. There were at least 12 active federal investigations into the alleged sexual abuse of cheerleaders as of January 2023. Often, the perpetrator is the adult who leads the program. In New Jersey, a coach named Jonathan Riker targeted girls between the ages of 15 and 17. In South Carolina, the owner of a gym was accused of providing 9 underage girls with drugs and alcohol in order to sexually abuse them. He was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound shortly thereafter. The problem even extends all the way to the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys paid a $2.4 million settlement after 4 former cheerleaders claimed that an executive had engaged in voyeurism in the locker room without their knowledge. And elsewhere in the league, cheerleaders have been pressured to pose semi-nude for calendars and to act as escorts for powerful men. Young hopefuls may watch professional sports on TV and dream of becoming a cheerleader themselves. After all, those bright white smiles and sparkly outfits make the job look fun and glamorous. But that couldn't be further from the truth.
Let's get one thing straight. This is not a cheerocracy.
NFL cheerleaders have also been mistreated when it comes to their work hours and wages. From the 70s to the 90s, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders were compensated just $15 per game. In 2014, former Oakland Raiderette Lacey Thibodeau Fields filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL regarding compensation. At the end of the 2013 to 2014 season, she was paid just $1,250. A similar lawsuit followed from a group of Buffalo Bills cheerleaders. Women were expected to buy their own gear and uniforms, and their wages covered only performances, not practices or mandatory media appearances. Some contracts also stipulated that they maintain a certain weight, and one even banned them from wearing sweatpants in public. All said and done, an NFL cheerleader's salary came out to well below minimum wage, with no job protection and borderline illegal working conditions. While both Thibodeau Fields and the Buffalo Jills won a settlement, the scandals hardly made waves. Pro teams categorize cheerleaders as independent contractors, so they can get away with practically making the squad work for free. There's a reason professional athletes make 6 or even 8-figure salaries, while professional cheerleaders barely break even. Elite high school athletes can receive funds for college because their sports are officially sanctioned under Title IX or by the NCAA. Some of those sports can be played professionally. Though only the tiniest fraction of athletes make it to the pros, there's a set path made available to them.
I'm a cheerleader. I'm not like all of you.
Cheerleading has never been recognized as a sport by either the NCAA or Title IX. When Quinnipiac University tried to replace volleyball with cheerleading, a lawsuit went all the way to the United States District Court. A judge stated in his 2010 ruling, "Competitive cheer may, sometime in the future, qualify as a sport under Title IX. Today, however, the activity is still too underdeveloped and disorganized to be treated as offering genuine varsity athletic participation opportunities for students." That decision was upheld in federal appeals court in 2012. Because cheerleading lacks official recognition, It has no state or national guidelines to keep it safe and fair for children. Cheerleading may have originated as a school pastime, but competitive cheer gyms are on a whole different level. So, could the families that patronize them be falling for a scam? Maybe. It works like this. Parents sign their kids up for memberships at gyms that can cost hundreds of dollars a month. Those costs rise as athletes move into higher-level groups. Families are also on the hook for uniforms and other supplemental clothing, shoes, and accessories, which can add hundreds more to the bottom line. Athletes are encouraged to attend costly overnight camps, plus competition fees and travel expenses. The yearly commitment can easily total several $1,000s.
Okay, guys, let's go out there and do our best. Nothing hits the floor. We stick it. Hands in.
If you've ever wondered why so many teams make it to nationals, it's because there isn't just one national cheerleading championship. Industry leader Varsity Brands brags that there are more than 40 brands under which clubs can compete. Season 8 of Penn & Teller Bull exposed how Varsity hosts 66 different national championships. Most take place in Florida and are packaged with trips to Disney World. This suggests that cheerleading has become, first and foremost, a for-profit enterprise. All the fees associated with club cheerleading are marked up, meaning every vendor along the way, from uniform manufacturers to Orlando-based hotels, is charging more than the product or service they offer actually costs. Capitalism? Not quite. Varsity Brands was recently the subject of 3 federal antitrust lawsuits. Plaintiffs alleged that Varsity was a monopoly that crippled competition by acquiring smaller rivals or by coercing them into signing exclusive contracts. As a result, Varsity had seized control of almost every aspect of the cheerleading market, from the manufacture and sale of all that rhinestone-studded apparel to the hosting of all those national championships. Private gyms effectively had to purchase Varsity brand costumes or sign up for Varsity brand competitions. Any team that didn't play by Varsity's rules risked being pushed out of the cheer ecosystem. And because Varsity created both organizations that govern cheerleading, USA Cheer and US All-Star Federation, there was nobody to complain to about any corruption. Varsity's grip on the industry gave the company the power to price fix and sweep problems under the rug. The for-profit entity has a vested interest in keeping cheerleading from becoming a Title IX or NCAA sport because it would lose its near-total influence and oversight, as well as tons of money. Varsity has also been accused of turning a blind eye to sexual abuse. In March of 2023, the company agreed to pay $43 million in damages and change some of its practices as part of a settlement. Cheerleading has evolved from spontaneous chanting at 19th century college games into a 21st century sport. While it would vindicate squad efforts to recognize it as a legitimate sport, the most pressing reason to do it would be to create universal safety standards for things like pyramids and basket tosses.
Whoever thought of chucking someone into the air and see how many times they can flip, that person is psychotic.
Multiple studies have shown that cheerleading is responsible for about 65% of all catastrophic injuries suffered by female athletes. Concussions are common, as well as broken bones and damage to tissue and ligaments. A bad fall can lead to a lengthy recovery process, and compounding concussions have affected students' performance in school. Because cheerleading doesn't have as much clout as, say, football, athletes' health concerns aren't always taken as seriously either. National standards regulating mats and surfaces where cheerleaders perform, or the training of coaches and officials, could help mitigate the problem. But as the sport that isn't a sport becomes more popular, stunt-based injury appears to be one serious risk that the majority of athletes are willing to take. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE 4673.